Roll call, please.
Alderperson Robinson. Hurt.
Here.
Swanson. Parker.
Here.
Pulis.
Here.
Healy. And Mayor Tomes.
Here. Public comment. Is there anybody wishes to speak? Nothing back there. We can then move on. Now, Mr. Grip, it is your turn for a presentation.
All right, thank you, everybody. Good evening. Earlier this year, in 2023 of last year, the Parks Department was asked to look into the possibility of building a campground at Sunset Park. The Parks Department and Public Works developed an RFP to identify qualified campground consultants to conduct a feasibility study. Several consultants were engaged, and during the process, and Campground Consulting Group LLC was selected, and they are the group that's with us tonight. Joining us tonight is Jane Cohen and Sharon Weber, and they're going to be going over the executive summary of the feasibility study, and they'll be available for any questions afterwards. So Jane and Sharon, welcome. I'll let you guys take it away.
Thank you very much, John. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having us this evening. I'll get started immediately. My name is Jane Cohen, and I'm the principal and president of Campground Consulting Group. And as John mentioned, we were engaged this past spring to conduct a feasibility study for the development of an RV park at Sunset Park. And while we have delivered a full report to John and Luke, this presentation tonight summarizes our findings, and you're welcome to ask us any questions as we move along, or if you want to save your questions for the end, that's fine too. First of all, I just would like to tell you a little bit more about myself and my qualifications. I have 40 years of campground operations experience. It began with a family park in New Hampshire and expanded to include 12 additional parks throughout the country. I've been consulting for 13 years now nationally. We specialize in feasibility and market studies, development and expansion, land planning, and operations. Next, I'd like to introduce you to my associate, Sharon Weber. Sharon?
Hi, everyone. As Jane said, I'm Sharon Weber. I spent 25 years at a campground in your backyard over in Geneseo. I was involved in all aspects of operation. Prior to that, since then, I have been in 6 years in the consulting firm and done feasibility and market studies as well as operational studies. Prior to owning the campground, I spent 10 years in banking in various services in the banking industry.
Just want to check, is everybody able to hear us? Okay.
Yes, yes, you're doing fine.
Okay, great. And I assume you can see our presentation as well.
Yes.
Great. Go ahead, Sharon. Sorry to interrupt.
All right. Key findings in the campground industry. 58 million households camped in 2022. 32% of leisure trips include camping or glamping. 92 million or 69% of U.S. households identify as campers. That's 11.2 million households owning an RV. Vacations using an RV are less expensive than other types of vacations. And the historical resilience of the camping industry is well documented. Record occupancies have been occurring since 2019, and there are more RVs on the road than ever before. 51% of campers have already made reservations for the 2024 camping season. These are going to be key findings for the project at Sunset Park. Letting you know how valuable this development can be. In your market, there are 8.4 million households within 200 miles. 612,000 of those own an RV. You are in a great location with easy access from major highways and beautiful access to the Mississippi River. There, you have an opportunity to provide full hookup sites, which is huge. John and Luke are committed long-term city employees. As I said before, RV than other types of vacations. There is a strong demand for rentals, especially in your market, as well as a very high demand for extended stay. We define extended stay as longer than 30 days, and sometimes that can be the entire season. RVs in America are huge and have a big economic impact, being a $140 billion American industry. 92 million American households identify as campers. And 65 million Americans plan to go RVing in the next year. In Illinois, the local impact of RVing economically is $50 per day per person, or $200 per day per family of 4. The national average rate for an RV tent site is $61. Because of a lower average rate in that market, we are assuming a $49 rate for this development. However, the typical national average for rental is $110, and because of very unique rentals, which we'll talk about later, we are assuming a lot higher rate there of $162. The national average impact per day, including the cost of stay, is $275. This is a great opportunity to create a destination for residents and tourists.
So how do we take Sunset Park and make it Sunset RV Park and Marina? RV sites and tent sites can be placed for easy access. Rentals, and we will describe the rentals later in the presentation, but there is the opportunity for unique rentals on the property. Day use amenities, and these would be fee-based day use amenities, not only for tourism, but also for community residents. And boat slips and boat ramps. And this is how we envision Sunset RV Park and Marina. Making it a placemaking spot to benefit citizens of Rock Island, as well as attracting tourism. In this slide, you can see a bubble diagram that we have drawn. And this shows the relationship between the different elements that are envisioned for the development. And again, this is just an overview, and this is a freehand drawing that Sharon and I did for you to just give you a visual of how we see the project. This has not been done professionally by our land planners, but this would be a future next step if you decide to proceed with this project. You will see here that we're defining where some of the elements will go. The aqua areas, where the tenting sites, the tree houses, which is one of the rental option in the fuchsia areas, the green are the RV site areas. The river boats are defined in blue. The inflatables are in red. And the registration and office area for both the marina and the RV park in yellow. Sharon?
So huge for any property development is location. And you are in a great location with easy access from the major Interstate 280 and easy access off of 92 to your entrance, and a beautiful access to the Mississippi River. Another element that we look at as we look at viability is local and regional markets, 100 to 200 miles out from the park. The local market is 100 miles, the regional market is 200 miles. In that market, the local market has 83,000 RV owners and 960,000 non-owners who would be interested in renting. The regional market is obviously bigger, with 528,000 RV owners and 6.8 million non-owners. When we look at a market, we hope to see 2.3 million households in a market to make it work. This market is more than almost 4 times what we look for. So this market is fantastic. Then we look a little further out at the national market, and we go out 400 miles there, and that will be the outer ring shown in this map. Within 400 miles, you have between 200 and 400 miles, you have 967,000 RV owners and 15.1 million non-owners. Again, those are the people we focus on for the rentals. The entire market is enormous, with 1.5 that 400 miles encompasses the states of Indiana, Wisconsin, Iowa, Missouri, Minnesota, Kansas, and South Dakota. Some of the major metro areas included are Chicago, Milwaukee, St. Louis, Minneapolis, Detroit, Indianapolis, Cincinnati, Louisville, and Kansas City.
So let's take a deeper look at the proposed development. Stated earlier, we envision RV and tent sites. We envision rentals. We envision a day use for fee program and a marina. Full hookup sites, which means that the site has water, electric, and sewer, are the industry's most demanded sites. It increases your ADR, which is your average daily rate, so it yields a higher daily rate. But most importantly, in your case, you have city water and sewer available, so you have the ability to have full hookup sites, and there are a few that exist in the market right now. So this is a very large, a big opportunity for this proposed development at Sunset Park. Sharon?
The rentals, in looking at the rentals, we knew we couldn't look at typical rentals that sit on the ground and are normal every day. So we had to go outside the box. And we're recommending what we call treehouse rentals, basically a cabin built on stilts, to help avoid flooding during your flooding season, your annual flooding season. Another outside the box look was riverboat rentals. These would sit possibly in the marina or at the end of and the riverboats will provide a unique hospitality experience, and both the riverboats and tree houses offer a glamping element where it's a little more elegant to camp. That's what glamping means, is kind of elegant camping. And finally, we talked a little bit about the floating water play. These are, fun things for kids to climb on and jump off of and have a great time in the water. And we think that this would be a great opportunity in Lake Potter. Also, you already have amenities sitting on the property. Many of them can be reused, used just as they are. Some of them will need a fresh coat of paint. And some of them, like the restrooms and the boat ramps, need a little bit more.
RVing and boating go together. You have a unique opportunity here to develop both the marina and the RV park together. And there are many efficiencies and many synergies that you will find in doing the projects together. Sharing buildings and sharing amenities that both boaters and RVers enjoy. Economy of scale by sharing employees. Boaters will need a place to stay, so your daily boaters that come in to rent day docks or day docks for the weekend will need a place to stay, and the rentals will accommodate that. RVers need a place to put their boat in the water, and you can see our picture right here below. You see a coach that is pulling a boat. It's not uncommon. Many RVers boat and many boaters have RVs. Coordinating the renovation of the marina with the development of the campground is highly recommended. So let's talk a little bit about the operating season and the numbers. The operating season for the park and the marina would be April through October. And looking specifically at the campground and looking specifically at our studies, our first studies with any client includes a 5-year pro forma financial modeling. And this is where we actually build the financial model based on a given set of assumptions. And for Sunset Park, we have started with 219 RV and tent sites. And you can see this right here in year 1. And we stay the same on RV sites and primitive tent sites all through 5 years of the model. We phase in the tree houses and the riverboats, both 1-bedroom and 2 bedrooms, over the period of 5 years as demand dictates. This leaves us at the end of a 5-year period in the model at 270 units. So the units includes the RV sites, the tent sites, and the rentals, for a total build out of 18.1 million. And our financial model and our full feasibility study is available to you, and John has electronic copies to deliver to you at your request. When we look further at an RV park development, we look at key development criteria, and you can see the grid to your right, to the right of my screen. There's 15 criteria points that we look at for a total of 150 points in our chart. Developing at Sunset RV Park and Marina has one negative criteria. And this negative criteria is at the bottom of the chart, and it's the potential for flooding. The good news is the potential for flooding is addressable. You know when you're going to flood, and anything that will be built there, the RVs can be moved, the rentals will be on stilts, and the boathouses, the boats can be moved as well. There's only 2 neutral criterion, and they are, again, both addressable. Hospitality experience. You don't have another campground that you're operating. However, the marina is a hospitality business, and so are some of the other businesses that the city currently operates, such as the golf courses, the water park, and so forth. Also funding. We saw funding as a neutral criteria that was addressable because funding sources simply have not been identified at the time of this study. But there are grants, there are bonds, and there are other borrowing possibilities. So the total score for this development is 128 out of 150, which is a very high score and a very strong development potential. So let's just look at a financial summary, and I realize that many of you may not have seen the full financial report, and I encourage you to do so. But we typically expect profitability between years 2 to 5 for a new RV park development. And even with the conservative modeling that we did for Sunset RV Park, using a minimum site density, in other words, we have not done land planning, so we are basing our density on rules of thumb that we use, and we think it is very likely that the site density will actually be higher than what we've estimated. So we consider that conservative. This proposed development has a positive net operating income right from the get-go from year 1 and a positive cash flow in year 3. And just to give you my executive summary, the current need for full hookup RV and camping sites and for glamping and the overall demand for RV sites for vacation, leisure, and extended stay camping for many, many reasons in this area and throughout the country is extremely high. The renovation of the existing marina, which is, it's our understanding that this is necessary. The development of the RV park and the redevelopment of the marina should be coordinated to obtain efficiencies in both. The two businesses complement each other. The potential in the market for providing a new rental experience with the treehouse and the riverboat rentals. The property's proximity to attractions, shopping, restaurants, and other services. There are quite a few attractions and services all within 30 minutes or 30 miles of the property. And as Sharon has stated, the population within 200 miles, which 200 miles is the sweet spot for most RV parks, is over 8.3 million households, with almost 7.8 million non-RV owning households, which will be attracted to your rentals, and over 612,000 RV owning households that will be attracted to spacious and modern full hookup sites that aren't in the market right now. And there are already amenities at Sunset Park that may be utilized or refurbished during development, and this will save money. There's also an opportunity to add an inflatable water play in Lake Potter, and this will be a day attraction not only for the park and marina guests, but also a profitable day use attraction for the city, creating placemaking spots for Rock Island residents and for tourists. So let's talk about next steps. Next would be to develop a master land plan for a marina, campground, and a day use attraction. So to plan out the entire development. And the first step would be the bubblegram, and that was the bubblegram. We gave you an example of that a few slides back where we showed you all the different colors and we showed you the relationship between the different elements. And from a bubblegram, we are going to develop a sketch plan. And please note the sketch plan that is on the top left here. This is an actual sketch plan of a park that we've been working on for the past couple of years that is under construction now. And this was designed by us with our land planners. And so this was the master design for the park. This was the sketch plan. First we did a bubble diagram, and then got this sketch plan. And below it, you will see the phasing plan. And we haven't really talked about phasing, but we have the ability to phase the resort. So in other words, we mentioned earlier that we are looking at roughly an $18.1 million build out. This $18.1 million build out can be done in phases. This park here that you're seeing is a $32 million build out, which will be done in 5 phases. So we are proposing that through the next steps of the bubble diagram, the sketch plan, and then a phasing plan, and you will be able to operate as you phase. We would then revise the financial model to coincide with the phasing plan. It will incorporate the sketch plan, and it will incorporate the phase development plan. And we are able to take a phase model out 5 to 10 years, depending upon your preference. So I want to just open it up for questions. I'm happy to go back to any slides that you want to look at. I hope you enjoyed the presentation.
Yes, thank you very much. City Council got some questions?
Well, I guess the question I have is with the day use, the water park going, or play area going, I mean, one, I don't think that's safe, but anyhow. But if you did that, how would that affect, like, boaters and kayakers and people who put in at the opposite side of Lake Potter from the marina? I mean, I can't see a play area, and I realize this is getting in the weeds, but I can't see a play area there with people and kids playing on it and allowing the public to have access to Lake Potter.
If you went with the, one of the diagrams that they have there, you could have a barrier in between the two, which would allow them to have access to, and we actually have that down there with the road that crosses the wetland, if you will, or water area on the east side of the park, east side of that roadway on the 31st Avenue entrance. That is a big water area and would be completely isolated from the boaters going in and out.
That wasn't part of this plan. I didn't see that being part of this, was it?
It's our park. It
No,
could
no,
be.
no, okay, I just, because right now it's pretty stagnant in there in green, but I'm with, once again, there's no doubt boaters do use that ad end of Lake Potter to anchor and swim and go down there, there's no doubt about that. Especially if they can't get out of the marina because of the depth.
Well, and, you know, you've got a lot
But,
of kayakers and paddle boarders.
Right.
And people who do that because nobody really wants to put their stuff in the marina side.
We would, that would be part of the that's all part of the master planning when we look at all that. And we have had, I was involved with the development Clays Park in Lawrence, Ohio, where we had a lake that shared kayak. We actually had, it was a little larger than Lake Potter, but we actually had kayak area, we had a canoeing area, and we actually had, they're called Wibbits, the inflatables, we call them Wibbits. And the Wibbits, we had different areas buoyed off, even for different age groups, because some Wibbits can be for younger children, some for older. So we had different sections of the Wibbit Park buoyed off for different age children, as well as we had a buoyed off area for kayaking and using paddle boards and so forth. So that would be something we would look in when we get to the master planning stage. And we would need to consider all of that. And safety obviously is one of the top considerations.
Because I don't really want to restrict public access. I think the public should still be allowed to use that for free whenever they want.
I have a few questions. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say we would also look at the pricing structure. And if you wanted to allow the public to come in and use the Wibbit Park for free, obviously that is your choice.
I think she was talking about just using the facilities, not the Wibbits, but just have access to that Lake Potter.
Yeah, we could do that as well. We do like wristband programs. There's different ways for oversight and regulation.
Dylan?
John, I had a few questions specific to our Parks Department. First, and I know this is early, we're just doing the feasibility study. Do you think it would be worthwhile to have any conversations with Visit Quad Cities to solicit their thoughts on whether an attraction like this would be positive for the community?
I would, if we're trying to attract tourism this way, I think they have to be involved in the conversation.
And no conversations have yet been had?
Not yet.
Correct.
Could I ask that you all speak up a little bit more?
Okay?
Sure. Okay, well, I would say a conversation is worth having at this point. Second, so it's my understanding from the presentation that we're looking at a publicly owned, publicly operated, publicly financed, publicly managed, publicly operated project here. Has there been any consideration for an arrangement where the private sector, some hospitality group, some campground group leases the park and they finance, they construct, they operate this entire operation?
I think that would be part of the second phase. The first phase, we were asked just to see if it was feasible, right? And we find out that it is. Financing is a huge question for myself and my department.
Yeah.
I think we have to explore all of those options. The Port District as well, what funding might be available through that, what grants are available to help this thing. Do we want a third party to run it and we take a percentage? I think we need to explore all of those options.
Yeah, I think all of us are probably thinking, where are we gonna come up with 32 million bucks? And especially looking at the
No.
long,
18.
18.
18.
okay, still, $18 million. And just reflecting on the history with the marina, right? Right now, we're dealing with, this would be really nice to have now, but in 30 years from now, in 50 years from now, what does it look like?
It'll be much better.
Yeah,
I think
sure.
when you talk about the marina, one of the challenges has been covering expense for maintenance, right?
Right,
This would be a way to generate additional revenue. I think if we do decide to go in this direction, we have to look at it as one facility. They can't have the marina over here and the campground over here, and they're separate. I think they could help each other attract folks and cover costs if the council chooses to go in that direction. It's something that the Parks Department is not in a position to raise funds annually for to offset any of its operation. So I think we have to go through this entire process and vet everything out, every possibility, private, public, grants, everything that has to deal with that before a decision is made.
have there been any conversations with F3 about their interest in operating a campground?
No,
Okay, are they aware that we're looking into this?
I believe so. I mean, we were asked to see if it was feasible. I haven't had any further conversations. I wanted to see what the council direction and feeling was on the project, and then we'll definitely have those conversations.
Well, that's all my questions. I would say that this looks great. It'd be a nice thing. There are specific concerns about public access to Lake Potter and things like that that would be worked out with a more detailed site plan, perhaps. But coming up with the money, making sure whoever runs it is able to run it long-term, effectively, et cetera, those are concerns.
I agree.
Did you have something?
I'll go ahead. You ask first. You're fine.
Did we look at doing any feasibility if we were due to have just a RV park and not the tree houses and that sort of thing, and the feasibility of that?
We can, John, did you want me to answer that?
Yes,
or-
please.
I mean, first of all, I would highly recommend the rentals because you have a very large market that would be attracted to rentals. And also, the rentals complement the marina quite well. However, yes, we did not do the financial modeling without the rentals, but that can be done.
I have a question for you, John. So when we look at, where's that, the 5-year, the plan, I guess. Now, the way this is lined out, it looks like they're doing all of the, in the first phase would be all the RV spaces, am I correct? And that's what we're looking at? It said one
Yes.
99 or something? So
Yes.
what is, have we looked into maybe not doing 199, maybe looking at a smaller number, or where, I guess, I mean, obviously, a lot of options on the table. We're talking about a lot of dollars, and I'm just trying to figure out what the phased-in numbers, or like I haven't seen the financials on it, so, just kind of
So-
curious.
Yeah, there is, my recommendation, so the next step would be to first do a bubble diagram, which leads to a master plan, which incorporates the marina as well, and the day use area. And you can, at any point, you can determine we're not going to do the day use pick, or we are. But this would allow the land planners to look at, once we have agreed to the entire master plan, we can then look at phasing it and breaking it into smaller phases that can be operated while we are building a second phase, or while we are taking a break from building a second phase. So that, you can take this 18 million and divide it into, you can eat the apple one bite at a time rather than eating the whole apple, so to speak. And I generally, when we work with new developments, I encourage the phased model because of a couple of things. One is obviously the capital costs, but two is it allows us to really see organically how the property is growing. So in other words, the one thing that we always know is that any plan that we make will not be 100% right. But we do know that, if we make a highly educated guess at the first phase of, how many rentals would we like, how many sites would we like, how many tent sites, then we can see organically how to grow in the second, third, fourth, fifth phase. And the master plan will take that kind of pivoting or changes into account. So in other words, what if we want more rentals because we see that they're growing quickly? Or what if we see that we want more tent sites than we've planned for? When you develop a good master plan, you're able to do that kind of pivoting.
So I kind of think about this like the marina. We had X amount of marina slips, and then we kind of looked at scaling back. And so just out of curiosity, what if we took the market, the regional or the local market, for similar campground sites? 199 spots seems like a huge amount of spots. So what's, I guess, the norm, or what would be an average around here? I don't know. Like some neighboring sites that are, campgrounds.
Yeah. Jane, you have that market analysis?
Yeah, I need to pull it up. I don't have it on.
I'm working on it. Jane, I'm
Okay,
working
thank
on
you,
it.
Jan. But we did look at a lot, we looked at a bunch of parks in the comp set, and we have the sizes. Actually, a 200 site campground is not large. It's actually a very desirable size, 250 sites. There's different economies in operation that make it quite desirable.
I think if you looked at Loud Thunder, because they have RV sites, those sites, they're usually filled and booked.
Camelot Campground too is, really squeezed in there and always sold out.
Right.
Yes, if I could say, you have a lot of those types of sites in your market that are Corps of Engineers and the like, and they're full all the time. It's hard to get into those spots.
Oh, I agree.
You don't have very many privately owned parks in your market. Most of your parks are publicly owned. Camelot Campground, which is just right around the corner, it used to be a KOA, has 103 sites. Westlake, which is a county park, has 364. And that's RV sites. It's not including the rentals in either of those places.
Okay.
Interstate has 100. Lundin's Landing is small, it only has 50. Sunset, where's Sunset? I lost it. The Kelowna Scott Family Park in Kelowna has 180 spots,
Scott County Park.
camp spots.
Scott County Park.
Sunset Retreats on the Rock River has 428.
Okay, I get the picture. I
Yeah.
just generally looking at the numbers, and I thought, boy, that is a lot of spots. So now in comparison, I guess that's really not that many, so, okay, thank you.
And there's huge demand.
Oh, for sure.
And just, again, I want to go back to, I obviously, we haven't been involved in the feasibility study of the marina, and we're not marina experts. However, lots of campgrounds have marinas. And I myself personally, I have one client that owns 13 marinas, and we're adding RV parks to their marinas. Marinas and campgrounds, they're like peanut butter and jelly. They go together very nicely. Slips rent the same way that sites rent. In fact, property management systems that are sold to campgrounds are also sold to marinas. A lot of the amenities and facilities that a campground needs, a marina needs. And they will both complement each other and feed off of each other very, very nicely. And you will end up with an RV park that has amenity and facilities that competitors don't have. And likewise, you're going to end up with a marina that has amenity and facilities that competing marinas won't have. And there'll be a bunch of boaters who will be very interested in putting their RV on a campsite for the entire season, because that's the boating season. So, they'll have their RV on a site and they'll have their boat on a slip.
Okay, I got one last question here. I know we're kind of running short on time here. Are these, I guess I didn't see, are these going to be pull-through or back-in spaces?
We would end up probably with some of both, but that would be looked at in the next step, the land planning step, when we do the master plan and that specifically the sketch plan.
Okay, thank you.
Any other further
You're
questions?
welcome.
I guess I'd ask the city council, I don't know where the city manager's at, but we're gonna have to have some direction whether to continue this farther or not.
Absolutely for me.
Yeah, we'd be interested in input and questions that the council has. As a staff, we've really just gotten this ourselves and haven't had a lot of chance to talk about it or analyze it, but we'll certainly do that and provide some of our thoughts and to the council about what the next step might be.
So, and I'm sorry if I missed this, and apologize for being late. So will this plan encompass the whole Sunset Park? Would it be turned into just an RV park?
No, they had drawings in there showing the place where people rent out and have parties and everything else, the shelter. I think they still showed that still in there. But that, I don't
Yes.
think they got, you did, I believe, in the swing sets, and they left the facilities we currently had, they had left in there.
Just the RVs
Around,
wrapped around
it appeared, once again, I don't think they got to that devil's detail. They did the RVs on both sides of that. You know where the parking lot is, right as you first enter from 31st Avenue? They showed some RVs there where all those trees are, and then they showed it down toward the ballpark, where it used to be the ballpark and everything else, down that direction. At least what I saw, real quick. Is that correct, John?
Yeah, that is correct. And again, this is so early in the planning. We would be able to, based on feedback, decide where things should go. Because obviously, we want the park to be open to the public as well. Launch their boats, be able to use Potter's Lake, get in and out of the Mississippi River. Use some of the amenities, the playgrounds, the shelters, and things like that. So those are, when she talks about land planning, those are the things that we would need to work on to make sure those things happen.
It's a fairly heavily used park.
It is.
It really is.
How much, so what's the time frame? I know we can't predict floods, but we've been getting a lot of them. So what is the feasible time frame that we think we can even use this space? I know that's hard, it's probably a loaded question, but I think that's a very important one. I know it's a part on here, we said it's, it's something that's controllable, but that's big, because that's a lot of money to put into a flood zone.
Right.
I mean, it's almost like we're asking just to dump that money away.
Well, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jane, the amenities that they're recommending would be above the flood stage waters. And we put electricity and water at a certain height that are above the flood levels. So yes, you would have to clear that area out. And we do flood cleanups when those happen. We're in and out of there within a few weeks, and then you'd be back up and running again. But it's a valid concern. It's a concern that I brought up as well.
It's a great way to rebrand that area personally.
All right.
And everything will be built with the flooding in mind, obviously. And RV sites, on an RV site, there's either a gravel pad or a concrete pad, and then there's, a water spigot, a sewer spigot, which would be capped. So the flood, it would not flood, we cap that. And then also the biggest exposure would be the pedestals. There are pedestals that you get that are higher, that, would hopefully be higher than the flood level. But also even with that, we're able to buy pedestals that we can remove the breakers in anticipation of a flood, so that we don't lose the breakers, which that's usually the expensive part of it. And the water flowing through the pedestal itself will not hurt it.
You can build it so it's not, flood doesn't harm it, but you still can't use it. So you have lost revenue.
Correct.
You have lost
Right.
revenue.
So we're talking about.
Right, yes.
Doing like an
Yeah,
infill
and
on
we
some of those
did.
parts?
Not sure. They
When-
didn't get that far. There are parts,
But when we-
there are parts
Oh,
down there
I'm
by the
sorry.
ballpark that do flood, pretty good sized area. And so to fill that up, to get it, the total height out of floodplain would be a lot. But so whether you just leave them and build it like it is, and it's just not usable during the flood, is what you potentially might
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah, and when we did the financial modeling, we considered that in the occupancy, the risk of flooding.
Okay. We gotta move on. We do have to move on. We got another presentation after this, so I hate to keep people short, but great conversation. Thank you very much.
You're very
Thank you.
welcome. We're happy to come back to answer your questions at your convenience.
All right, thank you very much. All right,
Thank
Angela.
you.
Is there a clicker? One? There wasn't? Oh.
Tim's got it.
Okay. Do you want this here still? Okay. Okay. I'll probably knock it off. Can I set it over here? Oh, sure. Okay. Thank you. All right. I'm going to start with an intended pun. Another year is in the books. I want to thank you, Mayor and Council, for giving me some time tonight to talk about our annual report. As you may remember, this is in accordance with the Illinois compiled statutes 5/4-10. There are required things that we need to discuss, which are listed here. There's 9 of them. And a print version will be filed with the city clerk once the board approves the actual report. So let's move on. Our revenue is the first on the list, and this was polled as of like a week ago, and I know that since the audit isn't done, it might not be exactly accurate. But what is of importance is how much our revenue is made up with city tax. It's 81%. Milan Blackhawk is 10% of our revenue. Our state funding comes in at 3%, and foundation right now, usually it's a little higher. They are giving us our restricted money, but as you know, the capital campaign payments are going towards that. So the money they used to give us for other things that we would provide the community right now is tied up in the capital for the Watts Midtown branch. So, and that is perfectly fine. We have a couple more years to pay on that. So, and then finally, the other section are fines and fees that we charge. Expenditure-wise, we have our operational expenses. This year so far as 2.9 million, and in the pie chart is a breakdown of personnel, supplies. Personnel and services are actually the two biggest part of that pie chart, which it should be. We're a public service, so that's the two things in that. Capital, there is quite a bit of money sitting there, and what that is paid for was the parking lot that we purchased, which I'll get to in a second. And then the remaining furniture, fixtures, and equipment for the Watts Midtown branch, the library board earmarked $350,000 for that. So some of those bills came in a year in 2023 instead of 2022. And then we also had a $50,000 elevator upgrade in 2023. So that is where the capital went. All right, an old way of measuring our value, but it's still impressive. They only talk about collection statistics in print, and that is really all they want. But we own 161,000 items. We circulate over 154,000. But I think down the road, they're going to have to change that to show our downloading and streaming platforms, the things that we check out digitally, because it's gone up so much, 113,000 items. So that's like a 30% increase. That's on the statistics coming up. Electronic circulation is important to us, and it, like I said, it's really jumped, but it's also the most expensive items that we purchase for people to use. So keep that in mind. And then the other things that this doesn't show are our library of things. They're items that you can check out and use, like tools, crafting items. We have an air pump if your bicycle tire goes flat, or we have a charger if your battery goes dead. I mean, there's tons of things you can check out for one-time use or something you wouldn't necessarily need to purchase that we have. That's not even in any of that. So our property acquisitions, we actually had one this year. The board voted to purchase the parking lot directly across from our south entrance off of the alley. So where that arrow is pointing, there's a whole strip of spots that right now people are using, but we actually own the whole lot. So we have plans to upgrade that, and hopefully we can make it more like the really cool projects that they're doing downtown and on, you know, coming up with the $7 million stuff, that we could do some sort of streetscaping, park-like setting for an outdoor learning space for kids that use our downtown library. So we have a lot of ideas. Money obviously is one. I'd love to partner with Parks on that, and more to come. And then it also asks for this report, how do you extend your services beyond the library walls? And we call that partnerships. So we can maximize our reach throughout the community by partnering. The obvious answer to that question is our mobile library to go, of course. We're always out in the community with that. We have set stops, but we also have places that we go, like for one-time programs, like Party and Park. We just go to a lot of different things with the mobile. It's a billboard for us too. And then if you see on there, it says we did 354 programs off-site this past year with over 11,000 attendees. So the library is a place, but it also is out in the community. And then the result of that is increased card holders and opportunities. So I did put a list of our partners up there. It's growing every day. Each of these partnerships, bless you, is unique and impressive. The list grows really each year. We love our partnership with the King Center. We go there once a week with the mobile library. We partner with Parks and Rec, like I said, with a lot of different things in their camps. We go to, let's see, there's so many of them. Just to give you an idea, I think the ones that we can do with the schools and with Head Start are also amazing, but there's really no limit to what we can do with our partners. So the interesting part of this presentation is always our fund requirements. We are very grateful to realize the equalized assessed value gains this year. It is really helping our budget. For the next year, the board is asking for an increase to cover projected health insurance costs, general wage increases, and service contracts. Like I say, our digital resources really cost us a lot of money. Those can go up to 10% a year. So We'll also be negotiating a new bargaining contract in the fall, so that will change, you know, our GWIs as well. That's an unknown for us right now. So the dollar amount represents a 7% increase, but that would give us enough to balance our budget and to keep the high level of service that people are expecting from us. Accumulations and liabilities, we do have the 90-day reserve fund. This is truly not what we have right now. This is what the spreadsheet or the balance sheet says for us. But as far as I understand, until the audit is done, some of that money isn't moved from that assigned reserve to balance our budget. So what we have outstanding is all of those capital expenses that I talked about. And if we were to have gone over with our operational expenses, I'm guessing it's somewhere around a signed capital fund of $550,000 at this point. We do have those liabilities still out there. We have the HVAC and lighting JCI project that we did, so there's a bond on that still. We owe about between $80,000 and $90,000 a year, and there's a little over $1 million left to pay on that. And then the Watts Midtown branch, as you know, we raised $9 million, not we, really our foundation and the YMCA. They did a great job, but we do have a balance still owed on that. We still have a couple years to keep fundraising for that, so we know of some things that are coming in to help pay that off. We won't know the exact amount we owe until the end, and maybe we'll have a donor come forward and just pay that off for us, which would be awesome too. But that is what we have. The 90-day reserve really is for emergencies when weird things happen. We don't have any other money, so hopefully that will pay for it. And that capital fund is definitely for things that we have. We're working on master planning and right now to try to, prioritize what we need to do, and we do know that most of the downtown library needs to be renovated, so that money is really for that. Statistics-wise, I could not be prouder. Patron visits, amazing, up 32%. Downtown and Southwest pretty much kept the same patron counts. The difference is the new library. We didn't really lose people at our other locations, we just gained people. Same with registered borrowers, that's up. Again, print and electronic circulation, huge. Our online resources, certainly something I'd like to talk about because those are the things that don't exist in print form anymore, that they are a database that we would buy for people to do their investing with Value Line, to read that research, to look for magazine and magazine articles. Those things all used to be a print-based resource. Now they're all online and they all cost money. So that's how it's different than electronic circulation. Those are totally different resources. But I do want to say one more thing about the patron visits, is that the number is really remarkable because of all the ways that the library now can be accessed not at a building. We have people who get library cards that are only electronic library cards, meaning they only want to use our electronic resources. So there are many, many people that do not come to our libraries that are still using us probably just as much as they were before. So reference, that's still up. People ask us questions every day. We provide help. And I'll get into a little more of that later. Services are huge. Services are anything from social media to printing at the library, faxing, notary service that we offer, anything that's a service, computer help, computer logins, things like that. Our program attendance is up. Patron contacts are things that patrons need help with, so they're a reason that a staff person would have to help somebody one-on-one. And then we have our volunteer hours that are up because we started a new program called People Advocating for Library Services, or PALS for short. So they are huge right now. They have done so much for us already. Couldn't be happier with that. So, okay, Year of the Library. I had a lot tonight, I know, and I know you probably all need to use the restroom before your council meeting, so I'll keep going. We kicked off our Year of the Library in November 2022 by placing our commemorative rock on the corner of where the first library that opened, public library that opened in Illinois once stood, which is down on 16th and a half Street and 2nd Avenue. So I go and visit it every once in a while. I've seen people take pictures with it, so that's pretty cool. We also celebrated our 150th birthday party, and then on top of that, keeping going through the year, we did a ribbon tying with our friends with the Two Rivers YMCA to join our organizations together symbolically. We had our grand opening on March 11th. Over 700 people came to that. And then in December, we just celebrated 120 years at our downtown building. So this past year has been a party a month, really, for us. And we thought we were done, but it turns out in September of this year is the 50th anniversary of our Southwest branch and the fire station out in Southwest Rock Island, so there'll be a party for that as well. But one of the ways we do draw people to our library is through our programs for all ages that we have at all locations. These programs draw people not only from Rock Island, but outside our area. They come and they come to our library. We are working very hard to try to get a statistic on that. Our computer system does not easily give us that number, but it is thousands of people a year. So we like to say that we are helping with economic development, getting people to come to our community and seeing what our great city has to offer. Let's see, on here we have the top in the left, there is the PALS group that started our book sales. They donated $6,000 towards our Fine Free efforts just by book sales this year. So that was pretty fabulous. And then some more pictures of our programs. Weston was our first viral social media post. Over 10,000 people liked that post. It was shared hundreds and hundreds of times nationally. We do 1,000 books before kindergarten to get kids ready to read. We do this all the time. We take their picture, but for whatever reason, Weston was the winner with social media. He's adorable. And then there's other pictures of history programs. And then our summer reading kickoff, oh my goodness, that's at 2 years now. We've had it at the Botanical Center. We're going to do it again this year. 455,000 minutes our community read during this, 8 weeks over the summer. That's pretty fascinating. It's pretty awesome. We get that all kicked off, like I say, at the Botanical Center. Oh, such good pictures. And then those are our partner booths. They have booths at there that they can promote their what they offer their people in the city. So some of the other programs that we have at our locations, children's performers, family crafts nights, jewelry making, just it's hard to believe how many things we can do in a year. And I know I have to rush, but let's see, there's some more. Music performers are amazing for us. We have a sponsorship with Jim and Carol Horseman give us money to do Tuneful Tuesdays every year during the winter and the spring months. And then we also have visiting artists come in as well. So there's always like musical type programs. People can hear live music. And then we get to our off-site opportunities. Big one this year was our partnership with Parks with the Lantern Parade. Very successful, hundreds of people. And then Moline Public Library and Rock Island Public Library, we had a shared staff in-service day, which is that picture on the top left. As they say, libraries work because we do, but RIPL, I love our staff. I think they're the #1 staff in the whole Quad Cities, so I'm just going to say that. And then I don't have pictures of things that tell the rest of the story, if you will. We've helped people in crisis. They come in and they ask for, who do I call for this? I need housing, I need this, I need that. That's why our slogan is begin here. You can always begin at the library. We have parents that come in with their children and do playtime with other parents and have literally learned parenting skills from their peers that they didn't know. I mean, it's hard to put ourselves in a place of not everybody knows the same thing that you do. And it's so amazing to see that. We have teens who come in feeling that they belong somewhere. We have speech pathologists that don't want to necessarily go to a child's home to do the session, so they come to us because it's a safe place, and we have small meeting rooms. We have similarly, we have supervised visits for that safe, trusted area as well. finding jobs, just a whole list of things. And I also put in here a slide about the new health epidemic, and it is loneliness. And what's amazing about this slide is that it's children, it's young people who are facing this, not what you would think. So this is on our mind. It's very jarring that that's the way it is, but the library is still a safe place and where nothing is expected of anyone who comes and visits us. They can just come in and use us, ask questions. They don't have to feel lonely. And I say that going into what we're doing now, which is our strategic planning sessions. In March, you'll get information. We have a community survey coming up. We have our community conversations. We need our stakeholder discussions with you guys. We need to know what you think, but also us using this data, such as loneliness epidemic, DEI items that we're working on. We want to capitalize on the library as an economic development tool. There's a lot of things that are going to go into our strategic plan this year. Finally, we have the literacy investment that you did. You saved our public $2.475 million by investing in the library and allowing us to provide literacy opportunities for everybody. And this really just summed it all up. I don't know if you had a chance to read it, but it brings it all home. It says, "Dear Rock Island Library," or whoever reads these emails, "I just made a donation to the foundation. Not a lot, and I wish it could be bigger. Though I have not been to Rock Island in quite a few years, your library has a special place in my heart. During my childhood in the 1950s and 60s, life was not good. My home was not a safe or happy place, and there was really no one I could turn to, but the library was the safest place I knew. When I got bullied at school or when I was afraid to go home, the library was there. The many happy times I spent at the big wooden tables in the reading room, as it was then, were like heaven to me. I found that books gave me hope, and I got inspired with a lifelong love of books and libraries. If there is a heaven, library people will go there. Best wishes for the future of this and all other libraries." So with that, I just want to thank you. Investing in literacy is investing in Rock Island, and I want to thank the board and foundation members and staff that were here, staff number 1, and I'd be glad to answer any questions, but you probably need to use the restroom. So thank you so much.
You're fine, and we will ask questions, but I gotta say, the thank you really goes the other way. Thank you to you and the board, foundation, volunteers. There's a lot of activities. You know, I do Rock Island Update a couple times. There's always something on there.
You bet.
Every time, and so you are very, very active, creative, and so we can't thank enough to everybody through making this a great amenity for the city of Rock Island and its citizens. So
Thank
thank
you.
you. Any questions? Anybody got any issues?
Move to adjourn.
I have one statement to make. So I just want to reiterate to everybody on slide 10, when it talks about our 90-day reserve fund, I don't want anyone to think that the library is flush with money, because we're not. We are required by the city to have that. So that's not something that the library has decided. That is a requirement of the city, because we don't get tax money until like June or July, and that's 6 months of salary that have to be paid. So the library has to have that money. And the assigned capital fund is exactly what it said. It's assigned capital funding for projects that are coming up. So I know that's always a discussion every year that we don't have to give the library money, and in the past we have not, but I just want to point that out, that those are requirements that the library has to have.
Thank you.
Well spoken. All right, thank you very much, Angela.
Move to adjourn.
We got a motion to adjourn? Is there a second? All those in